The Treaty on Stability, Coordination and Governance in the Economic and Monetary Union is the proper title of what we're talking about. This is more commonly known as the Stability Treaty, and that's an apt name for it. I've heard many people on the opposition benches, although there are very few of them that are reckless enough to support the No campaign, that say that this is an austerity programme, that this is an austerity treaty. Well, they should remind themselves that it's across the entirety of Europe. 25 of 27 countries have ratified this treaty. And the majority of the people in those countries are not in austerity programs, so therefore you can only deduce from that that they're completely inaccurate and are using this for the purposes of their own political gain. There are three issues at stake here. The first is confidence in the currency. The second is an insurance policy if things were to go wrong for our country or the currency even further. And the third thing to be reminded of is that we are looking to have a solution. Sometimes when there is a bull in the china shop, it's like the ad on TV. You're wishing the TV license to pay itself. Well, it's not going to happen. Sometimes you actually go out and tackle the bull in order to move on with the whole problem. The euro currency, the currency with which we buy, we trade, we engage in everyday life, is truly in a crisis. It is being watched by the markets. It is being watched by the rating agencies. It is in a place where we never envisaged Europe going, and people refer back to World War II and World War I. And for the younger students in the gallery here today, the reason the European Union was founded, let me tell you, was because of World War II, whereby the continent was killing each other and people couldn't sit down, and they saw their way forward was having trade and having partners, having common goals and purposes, and it came about as the Marshall Plan. And the European Union, as it was formed under the European Community, has now become something that is about trade, about peace, about stability. And we formed a currency which, ironically, I was opposed to at the time for many reasons. I was privileged enough to be studying economics in Sweden at the time, and we had an eminent professor by the name of Bo Söderström who pointed out the problems with joining the euro. And I just wish that I had been in a more influential position back then, because their country, with all good knowledge, decided not to go into the euro and has protected their capacity to grow. If I could have a little bit of silence and a little bit of respect from that side over there, please, it would be nice. It's about intergenerational debt, and people older than myself that have sat inside here have destroyed this economy. And I, as one, have been burdened with enormous debt, as have some of my contemporaries. I don't want to see the next generation of Irish people being burdened with enormous debts. So when we look at this treaty, what it puts into place is prudence, good housekeeping, good fiscal policy, and you know what it is? It's a little bit of hard work and ownership to the whole lot of it. And the hard work needs to be done, those that have the bigger muscles and are stronger and more capable of doing that. This does not supersede the IMF Troika deal. The Troika are here and the IMF are here. And when that is said to you, you should remind yourselves that the IMF normally come into countries which are sub-Sahara, basket case countries, as they have been referred to by some people, into South America, where people have been at war with themselves. We are, after losing our financial sovereignty, our independence of a kind, we have people outside dictating to us what we must adhere to in order that they can lend us. They're lending us between 45 and 50 billion on a daily basis so that we can keep people in schools, keep people in jobs, and get on with civilization as we know it. This is a commitment to the future. And in order to look at what we are trying to achieve, it is a standard of living that is best for all members of society. As a government, it is very difficult for us to put policies in place which we know are not going to be populist. But I think we're putting the country before we're putting the political parties. And it would be much easier for us to sit on the opposition benches and act irresponsibly for the country for the purposes of political gain. Some people in the opposition parties are acting very responsibly. And Please. And there are people acting irresponsibly, there are people acting responsibly. And I'd like to commend Fianna Fáil for, as unpopular as they have been over the last while, they realised that they don't want to destroy the country completely, and that they're doing the prudent thing by people. And some people have actually said that it would not be to the political gain to go into government, so they actually went into opposition for political gain. And that, to me, is reckless behaviour, and Sinn Féin would actually want to tell some people about why they have chosen to do so. The Troika deal is not exactly what we envisaged as being the way forward for our country coming up to our 100th anniversary. And I think we're going to take incremental steps. There is no pixie dust and there is no magic wand to fix this one. And if there is, I'd like to hear it. This is a very complex piece of legislation. I'm delighted that we have the opportunity to have a referendum on it, because people can take ownership of, do they want stability, do they want a future for the country, or do they want uncertainty? The only way of describing this is that the ship is leaving the port. Everybody in the European Union is on board. Do you have a lifeboat? And if we vote no, we have not access to the ESM should we need it in the future. And I would prefer that we have access to the ESM in the future if we need it. It's a complex issue, as is most of government business. So for those that have a less engaged attachment to politics, it boils down to one word, and that is trust. Do you trust the people that are sitting here, Fine Gael, Labour and Fianna Fáil and some of the independents that are backing this treaty, or do you depend on Sinn Féin to run the country for you right now? 14 months ago, the element of truth was that they asked us to go in there and entrusted us to go in there and fix it for the betterment of everybody that's living in the country and that wants to live in the country, and the immigrants that have left, and we want to get them back again.
Remaining.
Thank you very much. There are a couple of complex issues in structural debt, and the treaty itself won't come into place until such a time as the IMF have left these shores, and I hope to celebrate that day with great aplomb. This is about confidence, not austerity. This is about responsibility, not recklessness. This is about insurance and not blackmail. And I'm happy to go out there and canvass for this, and I urge my colleagues to do likewise. This is a very important day in the history of the state, and I would not like to be here in a position where we have voted no and we have enormous uncertainty and an unknown road to recovery. Thank you.